It wasn't long ago that Gabriel Jesus felt undroppable, let alone unsellable. But now we're hearing reports from James McNicholas at The Athletic that Arsenal would listen to offers if they came in for the striker. And I thought, surely not. Honestly, my instant reaction was like, no way. With all the players that we still have to get out of this squad, and we're talking about upgrading, is he the make weight? Is he the player that might have to leave to get these other players in? But you know what? I read the article. I heard what people had to say. And I hate to say it, but there are reasons, real reasons, to sell Gabriel Jesus this summer. For what it's worth, I don't think we will. The article's not saying he's gone, that he's up for sale. It's just saying that once upon a time, a player that maybe was considered, like I said, unsellable, suddenly there's a conversation to be had. And the ears are listening a little bit more than they were before. But I'm also going to defend my guy in this video. I'm also going to give you the evidence and give you reasons why a few too many of you are giving up on him too quickly. So we're going to try and talk about this in a balanced way. And it starts with the article from James McNicholas. And the link is in the description below to The Athletic. But he basically says that while Jesus is under contract till 2027, his future is not guaranteed. If an offer were to arrive for the 27-year-old Brazilian international in the forthcoming transfer window, Arsenal would be prepared to listen. Like I said, he's not for sale. They're not desperate to get rid of him. He even says later in this article that Arteta loves working with him, that he's still incredibly highly rated at the club. It's just that if the question were asked, they would listen. They point to knee injuries in this article as well. They talk about the fact that since the World Cup, he's had multiple procedures to treat his knee, but there are fears that there could be another one imminent, and it could cause him to miss this summer's Copa America. Now, I think, without even reading the article, and you can pause there if you want to read sort of more about it, but without even reading the article before I did, I think I would have mentioned the knee injuries as, he's not been available, and so that's a big reason why Arsenal may be willing to cash in on a player. Availability is the best ability and all that. But he's been more available than I realised, and again, James McNicholas touched on this in the Athletic article. He's actually still played quite a lot of football, and the data's here. He's played 33 games, he's played in 3 different positions, scoring 8 goals, getting 7 assists. He's actually started 21 games despite having 4 injuries, and he's only missed 16 games. Say only, there's still a lot of football to miss, but if you asked me to guess, honestly, before I did the research on this, if you asked me to guess how many games he played this season, I'd have said 20, not 33. If you asked me how many he'd started, I'd have said 15, not 21. So that's actually a lot more football and availability than I realised, considering the 4 injuries. Now, the injuries are probably therefore explaining more so why he's not got back to his best. But he's still actually been available for quite a lot of this season. And have we ever had Jesus at his best? Have we ever had Jesus contributing massively when it comes to this particular campaign? My answer is no. And I actually have to just accept that. That's just fact, really. So I don't think it's just about the knee injuries from an availability perspective. I actually think even when he has been available, he's not contributed as much as we'd have liked. So there's another angle to all this. There's quite a few. We've tackled the injuries, the availability, the output. What about his wages? Because again, I hadn't really considered this till I stumbled across this tweet by Alex from The Different Knock, who says that once your physical edge goes, your other qualities are exposed. And Arsenal aren't simply in a position to accept his wage to output/availability ratio. And I thought, really? His wage is that bad? And then I see this tweet from Mo, who I often reference on this channel as well. He says, not surprised the club are looking to move on from Jesus. The reality is that 265 grand per week as a rotation piece is simply not feasible. He's paid like a star, but the knee injury has fundamentally changed him. I do a quick Google search, and there it is. Behind Kai Havertz, he's on 265 grand per week apparently. And I didn't realise, again, like with the data before, if you asked me to guess, I'd have said 180, 190. 265 grand a week is a lot of money. It's not the kind of money that Arsenal can just ignore and just accept is being paid if they're not getting, a return that they would expect from that. And it's not Jesus' fault, he's had injuries. But like I said, you mentioned output and all that, and you go, that is a lot of money that's being spent. Now we'll just drop this line in, because when Turkish mentions Havertz and his wages and the fee paid for him, I do that sometimes as well. It's often met with, stop bringing up the salary, stop bringing up the fee, judge the player on his own merit. I think we've got to be consistent. Either we talk about the financial commitment to players when judging their
their output and what they deliver to a club. Like El Neni, £7 million, we always go, yeah, for 7 million, did a job. I think we either do it for all the players or we don't. So if you're saying to me, don't talk about Kai Havertz's wages and his, the transfer fee, then I'll say, cool, but then don't do that for Jesus. It goes both ways. I actually think you should talk about both. I think Alex and Mo are right to mention that salary when you're talking about Jesus, and I think we're right to do it when we talk about every investment that goes into every player. So I just want to make sure that that consistency is maintained across, when we're talking about all players. But then another great point comes up that with Kai Havertz, we've just got to say he has made the striking position his own. He is Arsenal's best striker right now. He's been scoring goals. I think he's got 8 goals and 5 assists since the start of January. Not even all those games have been played as a centre forward. His output's been really, really good, and he's been getting better and better as a striker. Great performances against Newcastle, away at Brighton, away in the North London derby, and he's been available. He's been available to do it. So Havertz has jumped ahead of Jesus in the pecking order. So when you look at the fact that we've been linked to a striker and a right winger, when you look at our potential options for next season, you're looking at Bukayo Saka with a new signing out on the right, you're looking at Kai Havertz with a new signing up front, and you're looking at Trossard with Martinelli on the left. So you add the two signings that we've been linked with, that as fans we all want, and then you keep the players that have been doing well this season. Where's there room for Jesus? I still want to believe, and maybe I'm a little bit in denial, that there is room for Jesus. I still believe that when Jesus is at his very best, he is better than a lot of those players that we're talking about there when he's at his very best. But the question is, do you even get him back to his very best? And is he available enough to rediscover that form? And these are totally and utterly fair questions. So we're talking about potential departure here. We're talking about Jesus potentially leaving Arsenal. Here are the other players that could go as well. Ramsdale, Cedric, Zinchenko, Partey, Elneny, Smith Rowe, Vieira, Nelson, Jesus and Nketiah. For what it's worth, I wouldn't give up on Zinchenko so quickly, nor Partey. I know, injuries can be talked about with both. Jorginho signed his new contract with Arsenal, which is great. I'd be keeping a lot of these players that have played key roles for Arsenal in the last 2 years. I'd be looking at Smith Rowe, Nelson and Nketiah, players that haven't played key roles in the last few years, and saying we should be looking to move on from them first. El Neni, I include in that too. Cedric, Vieira, I'd still give another opportunity to. I still think it's too soon to make a decision on him. But yes, the other players before Jesus, for me, they should be leaving first, and I'd be keeping Jesus, even if it means we've got 7 players for 3 positions. Havertz plays midfield every now and again. Trossard can drop into midfield. You've got injuries. You want to compete on all fronts. Yeah, I'd do it. It's greedy, but that's what I would want. But I appreciate that Arsenal have to make more ruthless decisions that think about business in that as well. What I don't want Arsenal to do though is end up in a situation where Jesus has gone because that's the player we could get money for, and then we're starting next season with still one of Nelson or Nketiah in the squad, and I'm not trying to have a pop at them, but it would just be very Arsenal to let Jesus go and start a North London derby with one of them in the starting 11 because we sold but didn't quite replace adequately enough, and we found ourselves in that situation. Think Cedric staying and Tierney going. Now, to be fair, Cedric hasn't had to play any football this season, but you get my point. Why did Cedric stay last summer, but Tierney was the one who went when Tierney's given us so much more despite the injuries? That's kind of the way I look at it. So, where are we with all this then? Jesus offers, if they come in, Arsenal will listen to them. There are players that need to leave. Jesus might be a part of that, but he shouldn't be one that goes when others are staying. But I agree that there are reasons why, when you look at wages, availability, output, if you get 35 million for him, I understand that Arsenal would listen. They would listen and think of all of it when they made that decision. But let me just take a second to defend my guy as well. Let me take a second to defend a player that I think has got a body of work that gets ignored far too much by people that I've been arguing with. Some of you might be watching this in the comments of previous videos. I saw it in the comment section of Tactical Insight. People saying, I can't believe you'd start Jesus. What has he done this season? Like it's crazy, like it's outrageous that Gabi Jesus would play in a big game for Arsenal. Like he hasn't got a body of work to fall back on. And I want to not only answer some of those critics from the comment section of those videos, but also defend my guy with with this news that's come in, because I think Jesus
is far too overlooked for his talent and actually what he's done in the last few years. From a guy who, let's take it back to his Man City days, started and played a lot of football in the run-in when they beat, quadruple chasing Liverpool to the title. And you can see there, the minutes he played, he was crucial, and Pep Guardiola trusted him in games at Anfield to get big goals and have big moments. A guy who played in a Champions League semi-final, scoring against Real Madrid, and was trusted to play in those big games. A guy who has got 4 Premier League titles, an FA Cup, 4 League Cups, and 2 Community Shields as well, and has won trophies and has been a part of really, really big sides. A guy who has got the goal that won the Man City, the Centurions, that got them to 100 points on the final day of the season. He has had big moments and played big parts in really, really big sides. A guy who came to Arsenal and made us title contenders. Before then, we couldn't get top 4. He arrives and suddenly we're dreaming of a Premier League title. Who started our biggest game of the season at the Etihad this year and put in a monster shift at left wing, doing a lot of hard work, hard graft, and actually was probably the best of the 3 forwards that day as well. Who came on against Bayern Munich and saved the tie when we were struggling to get in the game. He's the one who goes up front, asks for the ball to feet, and shows that bit of magic to get Trossard his goal. And with everyone saying, well, Saka's got to prove it in the Champions League, show he's world class, has certainly delivered in that competition this season with 4 goals and 3 assists. Look, he's not perfect, Gabi Jesus. He's not, I get it. And I've listed actually very fairly in 80% of this video, it's explaining why that there are reasons to potentially move on. But I am not ready to give up on him yet. I'm not. I think we've got to keep him 1 more year. I think we've got to see if we can just nurse him better throughout the season. If we have the squad and the depth, we don't have to depend on him, then we can just have the very best of Jesus. And then maybe next season, with 2 years on his contract from the summer of 2025, decisions need to be made, and I'd understand that. But I'm certainly not looking to move on from him, this early. It's only been 2 years. It's only been one real... We haven't even had 1 full season of him at his best. So I wouldn't do the deal, but I will say this. I trust Arteta and Edu. Of course I do. They've given us many, many reasons why we should back the decisions they make. And if they sell him, I'm going to trust that they know what they're doing. But I think we're a long way from that. I think this is just a case of we are willing to listen to offers, and we'll see what happens. My prediction is he stays. My prediction is he has a few more moments in an Arsenal shirt that make people think, oh yeah, that's why we used to love him. And I hope he continues to prove that. He's a top player. He's got to have 1 more season for me. And I just want to say a really big thank you for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, actually hit the links right here to watch more content like this, including my Football First podcast, which drops every Monday to Friday at 6 AM. And I know it's annoying, I am really sorry to have to ask, but if you want to show support to the channel, hitting the like and subscribe buttons help promote the content much more than you could possibly know. Thanks again.